Hi, baby. It is now.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter. Woo-hoo. It's going to be a great service today, and it's so good to see all of you here this morning. If you are a guest with us or worshiping with us for the first time in a while, we want to say welcome to you. We're so glad and delighted that you have joined us this morning, whether that is joining us here in person at the Texas Hall, or for those of you who are streaming online, we want to say welcome to you also, and we consider you a part of our worshiping community, and we're glad that you're joining us on this Resurrection Sunday. If you need restrooms while you're here on site, they are in the building just back there. There are two, and now that everybody else is in here, the line's probably pretty short, so it may be a good. But we're going to have a wonderful service today, and I want to invite us as we enter into an atmosphere of worship
So how do we
to
go into
center
full
our
screen
hearts
mode?
and our minds as we have the chiming of the hour on this Easter Sunday morning.
What'd you do to get it into full?
I just started the slideshow.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to learn here.
We'll just have to keep our voices down because we're right here next to the live stream mic.
I invite you to turn your gaze and attention toward the slides for the next few minutes as we begin our worship service with a visual call to worship. Happy Easter. As we continue into this hour of worship, we'll have kind of a responsive call to worship now. And if you have a guide, I invite you to use that if you want to read along, or the words will also be up here on the screen. And I invite you, as the congregation, to read the part that is in white print, and I will read the part that is in purple print as we read responsibly. And so let's all begin reading this together, this call to worship. Call to worship. Do not look for signs of life amidst the halls of cruelty. The waymakers are walking around in the garden of life,
pulling the weeds of despair, tending to the ways of pride.
Christ is living. Magdalene saw the stone rolled away herself.
Even in despair, the Holy Spirit surprises us with a joyful hope.
Can you feel it? Wild possibility, brimming and unfurling. Alleluia, the ways of life expand beyond systems of evil.
Resurrected Christ, inspire our compassion for the world.
We will shake off our grave clothes and dance toward new life. Amen.
Amen.
As we continue in worship this morning, I invite you to stand as you're able. Would you join us in singing? Wolf and lamb are dancing, safe and sound. They do not fear their fear anymore. The Son of Man surrounds them, building with his hands. The kingdom of what was before. The kingdom of what was before. All that will be ready with glory light. Glorious for you, the dead things good tonight. Requiem of darkness, our home was ever long. At the end of every curse, beautiful reverse. Captain Cook. Captain Cook of peace, full of joy. His brothers, they shall live forevermore. The Son of God sustains them, filling with each word. The kingdom of what's new was before. The kingdom of what's new and was before. All that will be ready with glory alive. Glorious for you, the dead things come to life. Requiem of darkness, our home was ever long. Every curse, beautiful reverse. Sing love of God. Love of God, joy divine, ocean deep, ocean high. Justice flows, the poor are fed, the Prince of Peace, our daily sing love of God. Love of God, joy divine, ocean deep, ocean wide. Justice flows, for our pain, Prince of Peace, our daily bread. All that will be great, with knowing God alive. Glorious reunion of dead things come to life. Requiem of darkness, our home was in the wrong. At the end of every curse, the whole earth will be burning. All that will be great, with knowing God alive. Glorious for you, the dead things come to life. Requiem of darkness, our hope was in the wrong. Here at the end of every curse. Oh, here at the end of every curse. Oh, at the end of every curse, beautiful reverse. As we gather on Easter, we're kind of have a progressive faith community, which I think is really cool. And one indication of that would be like the social media posts that Aurelia made last night with all the pastors as different Barbies. Did anybody see that?
Yes.
I love that. I love that. And so one of the things that some of us might wrestle with, question, doubt, is actually the resurrection itself. And it's okay to wrestle with that. And I believe with all my heart that faith and doubt are not enemies of one another. And that if faith is knowing everything, then it's not faith to begin with. And so there's some element of mystery. I don't know exactly what the resurrection is all about or how it might have happened, but I don't need to know because I'm not God. And there's an element of new life that it doesn't matter for me. I don't know where you're at. If it makes sense in my head. The purpose of Easter is that the resurrection and new life of Christ would move from our head to our heart, which is a much deeper knowing and a much deeper knowledge. And so as we sing this song, Head to the Heart, I invite us to consider that on this Resurrection Sunday. I open up to this love that makes me yearn. Oh, may my heart receive this love that carries me from the head to the heart. Take me on a journey, letting go, get lost in. Sing it again. From the head to the heart. Take me on a journey, letting go, get lost in you. Sing, my heart is open wide. My heart is open wide. I will receive your life. You give me faith like a child. In you my heart runs wild. No sense, no shame in looking like a fool. We'll give you what I can't keep. Take hold of you. Oh, there's no shame in looking like a fool. When I give you what I can't keep, take hold of you. More than words, more than good ideas. More than words, more than good ideas. I found your love in the open fields. More than words, more than good ideas. I found your love in the open fields. Two more times on that. More than words, more than good ideas. I found your love in the open fields. More than words, more than good ideas. I found your love in the open fields. From the head to the heart, you take me on a journey, letting go, getting lost in you. From the head to the heart, you take me on a journey, letting go, getting lost in you. There's no shame. There's no shame in looking like a fool when I give you what I can't keep. Take Take me on a journey where I ain't no get lost in you. One more time. From the head to the heart, take me on a journey where I ain't no get lost in you. This may be unfamiliar words to you. It's an Easter hymn, and it's to a tune that I think you'll find familiar, Sing We Noel, which is a French carol tune that was written in the 1800s. These words are a little newer than that. They come from the 1920s. The new life that we find in Christ is like spring. It comes every year. We can find God's new life. We can find God's resurrection all around us if we are willing to look for it. That's how it goes. Now the green blade rises from the very grain. Read that in the dark earth many years has lain. Love lives again, when the dead has been. Love is come again like wind that's free and free.
The great lady, love whom we had slain, thinking that you never wake to life again. Laid in the earth, like grain that sleeps unseen. Love has come like a wind, leave that sleeping green.
Spring at Easter, like the risen rain. That was 3 days in the grave. Up from the dead, my risen Lord is seen. Love is come again, like wind that's free. Come again, yeah. Love is come again. Maybe seated.
Good morning, friends. Good morning, friends. Here we go. So, happy Easter. It is wonderful to see you all. Let me begin the communion meditation with a confession this morning. Confession seems appropriate among the faithful at church before communion on Easter Sunday, right? So I store some of the larger church items at my home for us. The church trailer, a bunch of random PVC pipes that are constantly in my way, and 2 big crosses, one of which is here. The other, this is the small one of the 2. I store them. I live outside of town. I have a well, not like the kind you have to pull a bucket up. It's all electronic and stuff. And it turns out the well weeps or seeps or leaks a little bit at the pump. And so as I was going to retrieve this cross yesterday, I discovered it had some rot on the end of it. And so like any good problem solver, I got out my miter saw and I hacked up our beloved cross right here.
You saying it was an old rugged?
It was an old rugged cross, ba-dum-sh. All right. So it was getting some rot. There's going to be other joke opportunities, and they're going to need the prompting to know it was a joke. So where are we in the notes here? Yes, it had begun to rot. Okay, that's right. I hacked up the cross. Oh, here was the other joke. I know we're told to bear the cross, but I couldn't bear an asymmetrical cross, so I hacked up the other side too. Thank you. And now we have this cross. I think it's actually better. It's more proportional now than it was. So this would offend some people. This would insult some people that I hacked up our cross because they think the cross is the ultimate Christian symbol, right? I don't think the cross is the ultimate symbol. I don't think we are first a people of the cross.
That's right.
Nor are we first a people of a book containing the divine law. In fact, if you look around in this progressive community, as we were identified earlier, you won't see a whole lot of Bibles. Part of that is because we aren't first a people of the book, and secondly, we can access the Bible here. We think the Bible's important. We read a lot of scripture in our services. We preach from the Bible, but we aren't first a people of the book. And although I appreciate this book that first tells us the Jesus story and gives us theological language and metaphors to understand our world and ourselves, look around in broader society. You'll see biblical metaphors everywhere. They use them all the time. I love it, and they don't realize it. We don't necessarily need the physical object because we can access it otherwise. And besides, worshiping a book about God and also calling that book perfect and inerrant has always seemed like the most obvious, blatant, and ironic idolatry.
Yes.
Nor are we people of an ideology, a set of cognitive thoughts and beliefs that we must affirm in order for us to be pure. We move from the head to the heart, as Jonathan said. No, none of these. Instead, our treasure is kept not where moth, rust, and leaky well pumps can destroy. Thank you. We are not first a people of the cross or a book or a divisive ideology, but instead we are first a people of resurrection. This is, after all, the distinguishing and unique element of the Christian faith, making us about so much more than all those previous things and making Jesus more than a martyr. We are resurrection practitioners, and we do so every time we refuse to give up hope, to become cynical, to join dumb, dehumanizing ideological teams like Team Left and Team Right in our society, to be used by politicians and power lovers. And we affirm and practice our resurrection every time we choose authenticity, every time we choose a novel third-way solution that departs from our rigid dualisms, every time we keep showing up, every time we, what do you have?
Gather?
Every time we gather. I'm not looking for synonyms to show up, though.
Oh.
Every time, Jesus, okay. Every time that was not a joke. That was me. Every time we join Christ in new life, and every time we join him and each other in the practice of communion, which to us is this practice of resurrection that says God's table is for all of God's children, all of us. Every shape, everything, every category destroyed. So at this point, I invite you to join me in the liturgy of communion. You'll find it in your guide. We'll have it up here as well. I'll read the regular font and you join in the fusion. God is within you.
God is also within you.
Lift up your hearts.
We join in the beloved community.
Let us give thanks for the blessing of life.
Together we raise our voices in gratitude.
Our God, we are grateful for a community of resurrection practitioners. It's hard work, but we're not alone in it. You join us, you call us, you empower us to do that. Help us to be bold and creative. and supportive to one another as we do so. Great is the mystery of faith.
Christ has reimagined death, and we join him in bringing heaven to earth.
Amen. At this point, we are all welcome to join in the practice of communion. All means all, whatever you need that to mean. We're going to do that by starting up front here. And you'll go up the center of your aisle. We practice intinction, which means you get the bread. Are we dipping it in? We're dipping it in the juice. That was gone for COVID, but it's back, baby. And then you can consume it as you are led. You'll return to your seats by going to the outside and funneling back in. Okay, thank you. Please join us.
one of the beautiful hopes of the resurrection is that God, the living God, makes something new out of us. And that's what the next song, Beautiful Things, is about. I invite you to stand as you're able as we sing. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things out of us.
All this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. I wonder if my life could really change at all. All this pain, could all that is lost ever be found? Could I come up from this ground at all? You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of us. All around, hope is springing up from your soul now. Out of chaos, life is being found in you. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust.
Sing the chorus again.
You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust. Make me new, you are making me new. You make me new, you are making me new. You make me new, you are making me new. You make me new, you are making me new. You make me new, all things out of us. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of us. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of us. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of us. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of us. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of us.
Hello, kiddos. It's time for the kids sermon. Thank you for joining. merchandising, but I also got a minor in art, which means not enough to get a degree, but took enough art classes to go get art classes. So one of the things in one of my art classes we talked about was the color wheel. Has anyone ever seen a color wheel? Okay. Yay, so you must have learned that in art. So I made this in my color theory class. I got a B, but I got A's on everything else. So this isn't like perfect. But
Just to clarify.
Just to clarify, you got A's.
so what about primary colors? Has anyone heard of primary colors? Okay. So in case you don't know, I will point them out. Primary colors, yellow, blue, red. How about complementary colors? Marina knows. Marina knows. Primary, complementary colors. Okay, Marty, can you say it really loud? What are the complementary colors? Yes, those are the secondary colors. So basically, the primary color of yellow, the complementary color to that is purple. They're opposites.
So they're opposite on the color wheel.
Yes, they're opposite on the color wheel. And so the opposite of orange is blue, red is green. Now, it means, what it means, what primary colors, complementary colors mean are that they kind of pop, right? So, like, let's say, we see these colors a lot around Christmas time. Wait, I'm sorry.
A tree. A tree is green and red.
Yes.
Red for Santa. Red for Santa.
Green and red is colors. They pop. They go really well together.
And all three for
Okay, now these, right? These, if you want your colors to pop out, you want to put these colors next to each other. What if we put these next to each other? It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's not going to pop quite as much. So the word, I'm telling you all this to talk about what it means to be like contrasting and to be complementary. I have one more piece of art. I had to bring this whole big thing because it's kind of messy. This was one of my final projects in one of my classes. It was a series, so this isn't the whole thing. It was like a whole series. But anyway, I love black and white. Anyone that knows me knows I love black and white, and I love the contrast of black and white. He's going to be my assistant and hold it up.
Black is about snow and black is about stars. Yeah. Also, dark black is of twisted.
Darkness, exactly. That's exactly what we're actually talking about, is the darkness and the light. So did you know that you actually need darkness to see the light? And you actually need light to see the dark. It's charcoal is this.
With light
I think you get the idea.
with light and dark and making shadows.
Yes, exactly. So what we're going to talk about is how I actually think God is okay with the darkness sometimes. And one thing that we talked about as we were getting ready for Easter on Good Friday when Jesus died, I don't know if you know this, but the sky turned dark.
Jesus died on the cross.
Yes, on Good Friday. And afterwards, the sky turned dark for 3 days. Did you know that? Can you imagine? Just think in your mind. What would it be like for the clouds to cover the earth for 3 days? It would be dark, right? But we need that darkness to focus on the light and to focus on Easter today, right? Because what would it have been like if Jesus rose and it wasn't dark? It would have been great, but it would have been like Jesus rose and the light came, right? And so it's like when your power goes out and you're like, oh, this is hard, it's dark, but then when the lights come back on, you are that much more excited to be in the light. So that is what, like, God is within us. And darkness isn't like to be sad, and you kind of need a little bit of both sometimes. So I'm going to use this topic as well to talk about Eva's question, which is there night and day in heaven? Eva asked that question in the question box. Now, I don't know the specific answer for sure, but in Revelation it says that there is no night in heaven because the sun, there's no even sun, because the light of God will light up heaven for us. Now that's how it is in you. You have the light of God within you and spirit within you. Tori's kiddos are having a struggle. Okay, the last thing, almost done. Every kid is going to get, this is the Easter story, you're going to get a little snack that represents, every part of the snack represents the Easter story. You will get that in the back the kiddo room. If you're older and you want one, we probably have extras and we'll bring out a little basket for everyone to take home. Yes. Okay, thank you for bearing with me for long Wednesday. Miss Sarah in the back is going to take the kiddos, whoever's willing and wanting to go to the back, ages 4 to 9.
4 to 9? I'm 6 and a half.
You're right in the sweet spot there, my guy.
Wyatt.
I've never had to move a mic up before. That felt really cool. This is one of my favorite Bible passages. If you saw the Barbie posters that Aurelia posted yesterday, she made mine that I'm very sassy, and that's accurate. And I read the Bible in a very sassy way. Two of my favorite places to do that are at the end of Job, when God is making Job feel very silly, and this passage in John, where presumably John has passed this story down about going to the tomb. And believe it or not, in John's recollection of that story, he's first, and he's the disciple who Jesus loved. And I just got to think that, for a couple thousand years now, Peter's just up there like, are you serious, man? This is the story you told people? And I just really like this passage for reasons that have a lot to do with sass. So, from the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 1 through 10, it reads, early in the morning on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary of Magdala came to the tomb. She saw that the stone had been rolled away from the entrance, so she ran off to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and told them, the rabbi has been taken from the tomb. We don't know where they have put Jesus. At that, Peter and the other disciple started out toward the tomb. They were running side by side, but then the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He didn't enter, but bent down to peer in and saw the linen wrappings lying on the ground. Then Simon Peter arrived and entered the tomb. He observed the linen wrappings on the ground and saw the piece of cloth that covered Jesus' head, lying not with the wrappings, but rolled up in a place by itself. Then the disciple who had arrived first at the tomb went in. He saw and believed, and yet they didn't understand the scripture that Jesus was to rise from the dead. Then the disciples went back to their homes. We hear the voice of God in these words.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm going to take the microphone out. So I wanted to give us the chance to get into our bodies. during the service, be present with ourselves, with what we're feeling, really sink in and give ourselves some spaciousness. And as we do that, I'm going to play this here bowl that is in front of me. It is the sacral chakra bowl connected to our creativity. So if you would like to, feel free to close your eyes if you'd like, or soften your gaze. I want you to take a moment to focus on the breath. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Allow yourself to release any tension in your body, your shoulders, your neck, your back, and breathe. As you breathe, I want you to imagine if there's anything that you need to let go, anything that you're holding on to, any grief. And imagine what it would feel like to bring new life to anything you may be holding on to. And as you reflect, listen to this poem called Easter. Keep your proclamations of grandeur. Give me an Easter as small as a seed, one that can be planted while it's still cold outside, one that can be watered with tears and demands time and patience to grow. I don't need to know how large it will become, how long until it blossoms, or even if it will be pretty. I only want it to grow roots that dig deep down, striving for life in the underbelly of the world. Spare me the cosmic promises of otherworldly escape and point me to the sacred possibilities within reach. Tell me again about how the nutrients born from decay keep even the saddest places brimming with potential for life.
Our second gospel reading comes from John 20, 11 through 18. Meanwhile, Mary stood weeping beside the tomb. Even as she wept, she stopped to peer inside, and there she saw two angels in dazzling robes. One was seated at the head and the other at the foot of the place where Jesus' body had lain. They asked her, "Why are you weeping?" She answered them, "Because they've taken away my rabbi, and I don't know where they've put his body." No sooner had she said this than she turned and caught sight of Jesus standing there, but she did not know that it was Jesus. He asked her, "Why are you weeping? For whom are you looking?" She supposed it was the gardener, and so she said, "Please, if you're the one who carried Jesus away, tell me where you've laid the body, and I will take it away." Jesus then said to her, "Mary." She turned to him and said, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus then said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to Abba God. Rather, go to the sisters and brothers and tell them, I'm ascending to my Abba and to your Abba, to my God and to your God." We hear the voice of God through His words.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I just got the image of a lineup because I played softball. That was my sport growing up. And well, it's a long story, but basically I batted toward the end of the lineup most of the time. And I kind of feel like that about our lineup of offerings on Sundays. The sermons are usually at the end. They're not the most important part for us. I would say we prioritize the communion moment, that collective moment, and then hopefully the sermons we offer are short and sweet and helpful. And so I'm saying all that to say if you're visiting, I'm not about to talk for 40 minutes. Happy Easter! No, seriously, happy Easter. Happy Easter. I'm gonna take this. Oh, that feels better. So, y'all may have noticed the video we played earlier. I know some of you couldn't see based on where you're sitting, but the very first slide said Resurrection Sunday is not complete without that great story of grief. And it is. It's not. It's not complete. It's incomplete without considering the whole life and ministry and teachings and murder of Jesus. Before my daughter went to bed last night, I squeezed her tight and I whispered in her ear, "Easter egg hunt." And she looked at me, I'm not joking, she goes, "That doesn't matter to me. What's important is the day itself. Easter, Jesus." And I wanted to be proud, but I'm really competitive, and Easter egg hunts are really important to me, and I haven't gotten to participate in one in a really long time, so I was hoping she would be more excited about it, but we'll see. But she's right? She's right. Easter is not just some annual cultural tradition of Easter egg hunts and pretty dresses and deviled eggs and whatever, family pictures, whatever y'all do. We didn't get here on a magic carpet of churchy platitudes. We worked for this day. We traversed the depths for this, not just during the last 6 weeks of Lent, but in our lives, especially in the last several years. We deserve a day or two on the calendar to celebrate sometimes. What I mean to say is that our faith, and I know I don't know every single person in here, but I'm just going to make a guess. Our faith has been tested in a lot of ways. And what remains has been hard fought. It's come with a lot of loss and a lot of pain. And there have been a lot of deaths on this journey. Deaths of belief, deaths of ideologies, certainty, deaths of relationships, deaths of belonging. So talking about life and resurrection, daring to talk about that, it's not very meaningful when we don't keep the sorrow, the grief, the loss in mind. So yeah, I'd say just by being here today, we have wrenched this Easter blessing from the very hands of God. So congratulations. I bet many of us can relate to that sorrow that Mary is experiencing at the start of our text from the Gospel of John. And if you're like me, it's become urgent, non-negotiable, that we don't gloss over that part of the Easter story. I think about all the many years that I did gloss over it, that I read the story with little to no awareness of Mary's grief. I think about the way many faith contexts talk about Good Friday versus Easter Sunday, contrasting them like night and day. It is such a reflection of our dualistic tendencies and our addictions to the binary. But the story of Easter, really, it's full of paradox. It's full of non-dualism. It's full of mystery. The story of Easter is beautiful and hopeful and even happy, but woven through the resurrection story is a lot of sadness and fear and disappointment and heartache. Sometimes Easter services will gloss over those parts. But what is Easter if we have no recollection of the valleys? Of the valleys in here, the valleys out there, and even the valleys in our story from our tradition, our faith tradition. And so every year we go here. We read these same old stories again and again, and this year, here's what I noticed. Mary looking for a body. Verse 2, the rabbi has been taken from the tomb. We don't know where they have put Jesus. Verse 13, they asked her, why are you weeping? She answered, because they have taken away my rabbi, and I don't know where they've put the body. Verse 15, she said, please, if you're the one who carried Jesus away, tell me where you've laid the body, and I will take it. I will take it away. Mary looking for a body. Mary needing a body. And I relate. I think we can relate. In many ways, we are looking for a body, for enough proof, enough evidence that this faith path we have devoted our time and energy and years to is still relevant and valuable. In the meantime, we've experienced hit after hit, year after year, whether through our faith wrestling, our personal circumstances, or our observations of the world, which often feels like it's crumbling down around us. We are disillusioned and scared and grieving and disappointed, just like Mary. We need a body, but the body is not here. We need a body, but the body is us. We are the body. We've chosen this path for whatever reason. Maybe this path chose us, maybe we inherited it. For whatever reason, we're here today. And it's a reminder of that choice, but no choice is easy. No choice is all fun, all joy, all the time. No choice resonates in every single moment, in every single season. And no choice is without a little bit of faith, a little bit of work on our part, some consistency, some loyalty to that work. No choice is without hard times, confusion, grief, or fear. And yet here we are, continuing to choose to put our time and energy and hearts into this path, this work, this sacred space making we're doing here. Why? I'll tell you why, my why anyway. All you have to do is look around. No, seriously, look around. We are surrounded by community. We're surrounded by faith community. We're surrounded by kindreds who care. We are surrounded by love. God is love. Love is here. Look around. This is the stuff of resurrection. Perhaps our dead and dying faith can also be resurrected, even just a little, this Easter. So many people are leaving the church, you may have noticed. The great story of the Christian tradition has lost all meaning in the face of institutional harm that has flowed down into our very bodies, and we've suffered. The way Christianity has held hands with systems that harm all of us, patriarchy, white supremacy, those aren't buzzwords, those are systems that harm all of us. The way Christianity has colluded with politicians who then use its ideologies to hoard power. Fun. The way Christianity has impacted how our own communities and our own families have treated us. We've suffered. For many, the harm and the trauma and the continued triggers of it all is just too much. And it's been truly essential to get out for some. And so many are leaving the church and this tradition behind. They're over it. They don't see the value in it. I get it. I really do. And I will never tell a person whether it's right for them to stay or go. Still, I've been here a while, and I've seen it happen again and again, in our own community so many times, and it hurts every time. For those of us, on staff, it breaks your heart a little bit every time someone has to go. But I'm still here, for what it's worth. I'm still in it. I still believe in a God who conquers death, in a God who chooses solidarity with the poor over power. I'm still here. We are still here. We are still here. We're literally here, right? And I still believe that there's great value in our community. And not just in this present moment right now. I believe we are building something that matters for our future, even if it is just our little tiny corner in the world. I believe that every ounce of our energy and our faith that we lend to these efforts is worth it. We don't always have the energy for it in every season, for faith. That's why we do it in community. So for those of us who still have the heart to do this work, who still see some beauty in the faith path, and yes, even in this tradition, for those of us who still have some energy for reclaiming and rebuilding, I wonder if new life could be breathed into our meaning making. Could our work as the body be resurrected in new ways? So many of us are disheartened in these times. I hate to be a downer, but I just feel like that's where a lot of us are. The reality of division and corruption, climate change, economic frailty, oppressive legislation, just to name a few. It's bowled us over. And yet, we are the kind of people who choose not to look away from these things. What is wrong with us? We choose not to go to sleep. We choose to stay awake and aware. We hunger for authenticity. If it's not real, we don't want it. And so the whole concept of church these days, it just often feels so fake and so pointless. So we're searching for what's real and what's true in these times, and we're weary from the search. We're tired, and we want proof it's worth it. We want something we can touch, something we can count on. Like Mary, we're searching for a body. We need a body. But the body is not here. Not because it was taken from us, not because it was co-opted by institution or empire. Like Mary, a body is not here because it has risen. The same Christ then and now. Like our Christ, we must rise and be the body. The body is us. This rising, this resurrection work is not sustainable without some faith. Without some trust in things we don't see, we can't understand, or make sense of, or hold in our hands. Faith is required of us, and it's just not sustainable to cultivate faith without each other, without sacred support for the inevitable seasons when we have no faith at all. We need community who won't be judgmental of that. This is why it makes sense to me to pour time into our little community. This is why it makes sense to me that we invest in each other, even when we're not always feeling it. We need each other to have faith and hope, faith in people in this world, faith even in God. Honestly, in these times we're living in, I can't see a way forward without faith. And so I can't see a way forward without you. And the thing is, all the fear and the anxieties and the doubts and the uncertainties and the disillusionment, discouragement, and the apathy, all of it, to me, is evidence of a faith that is engaged and active and authentic. This is all the proof we need that we are here, showing up. We're doing the hard things faith requires of us. We're doing it now, right now, more than ever, not less, as our old faith paradigms would make us think. We are doing more by showing up after all we've lost and all we've burned down. Like Mary, we have become people who have learned to follow the grief That is wisdom, what she did. She followed the grief. That's part of what we've been trying to do all these years in this community. We've been following the trail of sorrow that living with eyes wide open has revealed to us. We have learned to follow the real ones, the truth tellers, those who dare to peer inside dark, empty tombs. And Mary has been such a beautiful model for us in this way. But here's the thing. Mary was content to set up shop here. I don't know if you noticed in the text, her instinct was to hold on to the body she had recovered. She wanted to hold on to Jesus, but Jesus said, don't hold on to me, go. And so in good faith, she went. And note, she didn't just go, she announced resurrection. She embodied resurrection. Like Mary, we are meant to be Easter people. We acknowledge the realities of pain and loss and grief and trauma. We go there. We don't bypass any of it. But like Mary, we don't stay there. And certainly not in our faith journeys. Because this space we're creating here is not a graveyard. This place, this community, this church, and this work is not a graveyard. This is not a place for our faith to come and die. That's not what we're doing here. We are resurrection people, and this is a life-giving place. And there will always be room here for us to assess and name the damage done. There will always be a place here for unapologetic truth-telling. But I hope and pray that this place is also nourishing, a garden space where our faith is regularly cultivated, where hope and peace and energy are given to us so that we can face the world, where our souls can bloom, where we can flourish. This is a life-giving place, interested in the stuff of resurrection. Believing in a collective space like this takes faith. That's one thing that never changed from the then and now, for those of you who have then and now in your faith. It always takes a little faith. It takes faith to decide to exit the graveyard. It took faith for Mary to let go of the physical body of Jesus, her friend and her teacher, whom she had just lost to brutal death and then miraculously gotten back. It took faith for her to let him go once again and leave the graveyard behind. And the same is true for us. Whether you've deconstructed, reconstructed, or none of the above, the faith has never made sense, and there will always be a healthy dose of mystery attached to it. So Easter people, resurrection people, the story of Christ, what does it all mean, and does it matter? I think it matters just because we say it matters. I think it has power because we've chosen to lend it power, because we're simply choosing not to be dead. We're deciding not to live from within the rubble of our dead and dying faiths. We have decided to do some announcing by way of embodying resurrection in here and out there. When we don't have the strength to live into this, our community of faith is our strength. But regardless, the story of resurrection, the collective power of it, will carry on with or without us. Why wouldn't we want to participate somehow, some way? Why wouldn't we want to contribute to the kind of meaning-making that consistently and stubbornly prioritizes life and the inevitable triumph of peace, hope, and love? I don't need good theology or well-spoken words or permission to get behind this kind of resurrection work. I only need you, just you. Community being the hands and feet of Christ to me and me to you. This is the body I need. This is the body we need. Where is the body? Mary frantically wondered on that early Easter morning in that graveyard, and we wonder too. I'm saying, take comfort. The body has risen. Look around. The body is us. Hallelujah. May we rise to the occasion.
Thank you, Aurelia, for the powerful sermon today and your reflections on the meaning of Easter. As we conclude our service this morning, we'll sing the song All Things Rise. I invite you to stand as you're able.
God, how beautiful your holy word that formed the world in such goodness. Oh, the shame that we would spurn it all to turn and fall into darkness. God, we'll sing how through your Son you turn this lost and hurting to glory. Now, when scorn and death you raise him up, his gaze become the whole world's story. So that all things rise and bless his name. All things may rise and move again. Let all things rise and bless His name. All things may rise and move again. Lord our God, your goodness is free and boundless, is reaching endless through all. Every step we take, your faithfulness is our portion. Prepare the city bright and fair, whose gates forever stay open. Son of God, and do we take it now? His ways of love's occupation. Oh, the joy to share in your reward, the sun eternally creation. Let all things rise and bless your name. All things may rise and new again. Let all things rise and bless your name. All things may rise and new again. Lord our God, your goodness is free and boundless, is reaching endless through it all. You promised, God, your Son was raised up. In Him we follow, in Him we all be raised up. Just as you promised, now your Son was raised up. In Him we'll follow, in Him we'll all be raised up. Lord, you made yourself a home, heaven and earth forevermore. All things are so in weakness, you raise and promise, your beauty arches above. All things are so in weakness, you raise and promise, your beauty arches above it all.
Okay. I just wanted to give some instructions. We're running so behind. We're gonna go outside and have an Easter egg hunt and the game. Well, there's gonna be someone giving you instructions out there, but we're gonna go outside, so if you have kids who wanna participate, please stick around. And then we're gonna go off-site for a lunch. And I don't know how to give people the address.
Ask Sharon Ross.
1705.
Well, listen.
Do you want to end the broadcast?
Yeah, and I'm not about to put their address on the screen.